Hi, and thank you for tuning in. If you're looking for something a little different that I just thought of that we're going to talk about, which we are, I will be back in 30 seconds. And we're back. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Again, thank you for tuning in to my channel. I really appreciate it. I decided to go a little bit of a different direction in topic. I wanted to be a little bit more spontaneous, a little bit more exciting. So this segment is we're going to talk about different TV shows through the decades. And I grew up born in the 70s, but I grew up with 80s television. So there's not really anything that came on in the 80s that I don't know about. But I'm not by myself. Alongside, I have Jan from New York City.
Everybody, how are you? Hi, Steve. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? So
always fun to be here.
Yes, I'm glad that you're welcome to. I'm glad that you're here. So we're going to talk about different TV shows that we enjoyed watching back in the day, whether it was prime time, syndication, or what we may still enjoy watching today. So,
True.
we're just going to go with, whatever direction this may take us. So, since you're my guest, I'm going to start with you, and maybe and you can go ahead and talk about some of your.
Thank you, Steve. I am a very avid fan of classic TV because, especially stuff from the 1960s and 70s, this is classic TV to me. It brings me back to a time that, to me, things were simpler. Life was simpler. Maybe I have great memories of childhood and I'm just reliving it all over again. Whatever the reason, I find myself always loving to watch, for example, Leave It to Beaver.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one example. Father Knows Best.
Mm-hmm.
Hazel. By the way, Steve, every show I just mentioned, I belong to a group of the associated group, the three of them, because you would not believe how many people are a fan of these shows. And to this minute, they just love being in the groups and sharing and exchanging. Very, very nice.
Yeah, you and I are in the same Leave It to Beaver group on
Yes, we are.
On a social media platform.
Yes,
but I myself, in the early just slightly pre-lunch hour, I do like to watch. I like Hazel. I like Father Knows Best. I like Leave It to Beaver. Now, back in the 80s, when I was like preteen, teenager, I liked Leave It to Beaver so much that I started watching it from whatever point it was until it reached the end. But then when it started from episode 1, when Wally and the Beaver were, pretty small, I actually wound up watching the whole series, every episode. And I did that with a TV. If a TV show really struck my interest, I did that. I would watch every episode.
I find that fascinating because you were born in like 1974.
Yeah, right.
I was born at the very end of 58, almost 1959. The Beaver was actually on the air. I do remember Beaver on Friday nights, like when I was 2 years old, my family watching it. So I actually remember it when it was first run, but I mainly remember it in syndication. And every time I was sick and had a day off from school, the first thing I do is put the Beaver on.
Yeah.
And Dennis the Menace. How dare I forget?
Yeah, that's the other. Jay North not that I'm trying to give anything away. He lives somewhere in my state. He's
Yes.
probably within a couple of hours of where I'm at, and I'm
Great little
familiar
actor.
with the town he lives in. So not a big town, not highly populated, but some of the shows that I used to watch. I'll mention some that I saw in first run. I I used to like Kate and Alley on Monday nights.
Oh yeah,
CBS.
nice.
Yeah, I was pretty glued to television prime time back in the. There was really no need to go anywhere because television was just so good
It
then.
was.
You know, Kate and Alley, Newhart, Designing Women. Let's see, Murphy Brown was in there. You know, that was Mondays. And then Tuesday, you know, you had Who's the Boss? You had Roseanne and Moonlighting. And if it wasn't for Moonlighting, Bruce Willis's acting career would not have launched the way it did. That was his stepping stone. And,
True.
you know, the list goes on. And then I watched Growing Pains, Head of the Class, 30 something. You know, Thursday night was Night Court and Cheers. And, oh, but I watched all of those shows. That's just sitcoms. Of course, I also watched, you know, shows like Hill Street Blues, Harketh,
Uh-huh.
McCormick, Scarecrow and Mrs. King, The A Team, all of
Nice.
those. So you know, the '80s, Heart to Heart is another one. That was another good one. But I watched all of these different, you know, TV shows, Golden Girls, 227, The Facts
Oh,
of,
the Golden Girls. Yes.
yeah, you know.
And you mentioned the Facts of Life, right? You were going to say.
I did watch The Facts of Life. That
Yeah.
was on Saturdays. It wasn't always on a Saturday. It was like in the fourth or fifth season that was like on a Wednesday night. But eventually, I think they
Right.
for the Saturday time
Right.
slot.
I think it originated right before Love Boat. On this, I was like,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
was
yeah. Love Boat.
like
Yeah.
the year. I think it was the year after I graduated high school. I think the Facts of Life started. Maybe 2 years. I don't know. What year was that? 77 or 78? Do you remember offhand?
Okay, I actually know a little bit of a storyline behind that. Another TV show. I don't like to watch it now because too much sad came from it.
Oh.
You had Different Strokes,
Oh yeah.
and that started in '78. And Mrs. Garrett was the housekeeper,
Yeah.
but most people don't realize the daughter Kimberly went to Eastland. So from that
True.
came The Facts of Life.
Wow, that's right. It was a
Right.
spinoff.
It was a spinoff, right?
Wow. Wow. All in the Family brought about the Jeffersons. Other shows brought about other shows. It's amazing all the spin-off shows that had
Yeah.
happened.
I actually, let's see, All in the Family, right? Maude, the Jeffersons. Let's see what came. Then you had Archie Bunker's Place. That was all right. I didn't like it as well as I did All in the Family. It was a totally
Nothing
different.
beats the original.
Yeah, you know, and then of course, you know, Norman Lear also come out with another show that you know our people will remember with Bonnie Franklin, One Day at a Time.
Right.
You know, the premise of
You fascinated me when you told me that Whitney Blake from Hazel,
Hazel.
she was the co-creator.
Right. She was married to Alan Mannings, and they,
Yeah.
right. I mean, I guess at the time, right, you know, and right around 1975, 76, when One Day at a Time began, you know, I guess that was groundbreaking because they had never seen a television show of a divorced mother raising
Right.
teenage daughters.
Correct. That was pioneer, groundbreaking information type
Right.
show.
It's like another show that come out, Three's Company. You have a man living with two women. That was not
Right. Right.
at the, groundbreaking as well. So yeah, we just grew up with a lot of different TV shows. Of course, I like the stuff from the 50s. I like Make Room
Yeah.
for Daddy, or Father Knows
Yeah.
Best. I Love
Right.
Lucy.
Right. Oh yeah. You know what's interesting, Steve? I watched I Love Lucy when we had rabbit ears on television.
Me too.
I watched I Love Lucy when you had to get up and change the channel. This is before you had a remote.
Right.
Then we went to remote. Then we went to watching things in color and living color. Remember that? Like with that groundbreaking thing. Well, you don't remember that, but you heard of it. And then everything changed. Digital TV, smart TVs. We see, but the funny part is the shows lasted, but the way that were presented has changed.
Oh, sure. With that, and and technology and things like that. Again, you and I, we remember three networks: CBS,
Yeah.
ABC, NBC, and that's all you had. But then all of a sudden, here comes 1987, and they decide to launch another network, Fox.
Uh-huh. I remember that night.
And to be honest with you, I actually liked Fox in the earlier
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, me too.
Um, you had shows like Married with Children. Married with Children, it's a yay nay because I did not like all the seasons. I was partial to the seasons when Marcy, the next door neighbor, was married to a guy named Steve who worked in a bank. I preferred his character best. When they decided to write him out, when he decided to go and pursue other things, and they wrote in Ted McGinley as Jefferson, that the show kind of lost feeling for me. It's not
Yeah.
that Ted McGinley is a bad actor, but that role was not for him.
No, I always feel sorry for the person that's the replacement person. It just doesn't work.
No, Ted McGinley was good on The Love Boat.
Yeah.
He was also good on Happy Days when Ron Howard and Don Most left. You know,
Yeah.
Ron Howard wanted to be a director, which he wound up doing that. And when they
Right.
wrote in, Roger Phillips, who played the cousin of one of the, I think Roger was like a cousin to Mrs. Cunningham or somebody. He was okay in that and The Love Boat, but there's sometimes I guess there's just some characters it's not made for the right actor or actress. And Jefferson
True.
he was not.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't cast properly.
No.
I was thinking of something, Steve. It's funny you brought up about the major three networks. Funny, we had major three networks, and we always had something to watch. Today, you have thousands of things to watch, and still people say, "Boy, there's nothing on tonight."
That's true. I've dealt with that too many a time. But coming back to Fox, not only Married with Children, you also had 21 Jump Street. Again,
Oh yeah.
that show launched Johnny Depp's career. Without that, there would be no Johnny Depp. Let's see. Another show that I loved, Tracy Ullman Show.
What a lineup! Sunday night, you were glued to Fox, in my
Right.
opinion. Most of us were.
And Tracy Ullman launched probably the longest TV show that's been on the air in history.
Really?
And most people may or may not know it is The Simpsons. Because what they used to do
Oh yeah.
is on Tracy Ullman, when they would, go to commercial, they would show little Simpson skits in between when they would come
Right.
back. That helped launch, the series. And then, of course, you had some other TV show. You had another one called Duet that had Jack Lemmon's son in it. You know,
Oh,
that was another good one. But
how about
no,
Gary Shandling? Wasn't he on the same night?
Mary Shandling, that was on Sunday nights as well. I think that was like 9:30.
Hilarious. I love Gary Shandling. You know what's interesting about the Tracy Ullman? Didn't you say Ted Bessel, the boyfriend on That Girl? He had a part with, what did he have to do with the show?
Director.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a director of that show. And again, I know we're talking about television, but I have to tap to the music section for 1 minute.
Yeah.
Paula Abdul, for those who doesn't know her, American Idol and, popular in the late 80s, early middle 90s. She was the choreographer on Tracy Ullman.
Is that?
Yeah. So, but every night of the week back in the 80s,
Yeah.
Steve didn't have to go anywhere. I just
No.
stayed home. Saturday,
Yeah.
Friday, Mr. Belvedere and Perfect
Oh,
Stranger
yeah.
and all of that.
A lot of good stuff. Telling you. I
Yeah.
used to love to watch, well, in the 70s now, rolling back a minute, I used to love to watch Welcome Back, Kotter.
Oh,
And
yeah.
who didn't like Happy Days? A lot of people loved Happy
Oh,
Days.
yeah.
Laverne.
Laverne and Shirley. Now, I did watch Happy Days. Again, you have to remember I lived overseas. My dad was in the military. So I didn't
Yeah.
come to the I didn't come to the States until 82. So
Right.
so any shows that were like a carryover of the 70s that rolled into I did watch Happy Days the last couple of seasons. Laverne and Shirley, I watched that, of course. Now, of course, you saw it first run. I didn't. Mary Tyler Moore.
Right. Right.
Rhoda. Of course, we know Rhoda came from Mary Tyler Moore. You had a chance to watch that in first run. Bob Newhart.
Yeah. I like the original Bob Newhart. Yeah.
Right. I'm not, even though I watched the Bed and Breakfast, the Newhart one in the 80s,
Yeah.
I couldn't get past the fact of
It
Mary
just wasn't
Fran.
that good.
No, I couldn't get past the fact of Mary Fran being Bob's husband. I'm
Yeah.
more used to the Hartleys with Suzanne
Yeah.
Plachette.
Yes.
And of course, walking out, coming off of the elevator, and Marcia Wallace or Carol sitting right there. And then you have Peter Bonners and Bill Daly.
Right.
That's the one I prefer best, like you. And I
You know
think,
what, Steve?
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. No, the only other thing I was going to throw in that little lineup is I believe you had MASH on there on that time. MASH.
Right. Right. That was that Sunday night at 7:00.
Was it Sunday? Okay, I'm okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe Saturday. It was on the weekend. That I could say.
It was on the weekend. But yeah.
But, my brother and I couldn't wait to watch, my older brother. We couldn't wait to watch on Friday nights, Good Times.
Oh, yeah.
And Sanford. That was our hour.
Again, people who think back, again, Good Times, another Norman Lear. Speaking of Maude, it's on right now. I happen to have it over
How do
here.
you like that? That's a winky.
If it was not for Maude with
Yeah.
Mr. Roll playing Florida as her maid,
True.
Good Times would have never have come about. The only thing I never understood is the whole time Good Times was on, you never heard Florida mention anything about Maude.
Yeah. You're right.
But if you watch Maude mentions Florida on several occasions.
I think there was some kind of falling out. I don't know which show was it. It involved the lady that portrayed Florida, Esther Roll.
Esther.
She wanted to be recognized bigger. I forget which show it was. Might have been Good Times, but I think it was Good Times because I think that Jimmy Walker, in her mind's eye, upstaged her. In her mind's eye.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think I heard that years ago.
Yeah, that's what it was. I think Esther just wanted another stepping stone, and Good Times definitely got
Yeah.
her. Of course, we all know that Jimmy Walker wound up stealing the show on that one with Dynamite,
He
which
still uses that line.
right on that commercial that you see for the. But Dynamite was cute, but he overdid it. He wore it out. It was
I,
overdone.
I suppose that was his brand.
Oh, it definitely became a brand. It still follows him around 40 plus years later. I mean, he uses it on that commercial. But, Good
He's
Times was
so
good.
young. I was in high school when he kept saying it, so every time I
Right.
hear it, it takes me back to high school.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to Good Times, when they decided to kill the father off, John Amos, to me,
Yeah, I
I
hate it.
I would still watch it, but it just
I
lost some.
hated that. I hated that. I don't remember what the ish was. Was he like not getting along? What was that gentleman's name again? Oh,
Norman Lear was the you know the person or the person behind the creation of the show. What it was is it had to do with John Amos, and there was a little bit of an issue there with Jimmy Walker. And
oh dear. Yeah.
what it
Wow.
was, even and you have videos or little interviews about it on YouTube. Uh,
Oh, okay. I'll check them.
yeah, John Amos interview. Just type it in, and he said he wasn't the most diplomatic, and John says something about receiving a phone call from Norman Lear. He says, I've got good news and bad news. He says, what do you want to hear first? He says, well, tell me the bad news. The bad news is you're not coming back. The good news is Good Times got picked up for another season. And
How would you take? Oh, wait. He was told that he was not coming back, right?
right,
But so the good news is how's the good news for him? It makes no difference if he was just let
right.
go.
It's not good news. If you're let go, what good is being picked up going to do to you?
That's horrible.
Oh, and it
I
gets
love
better.
that character of the dad.
So did I. I love the John Amos full family. That's what
Yeah.
that's why I prefer watching the first 3 seasons the most. I will watch the season where Florida is left alone and have to raise the family, but then even that wasn't that great. But then Florida or Esther Roll wound up leaving the show because she didn't like the way JJ's character was becoming.
That's the incident that I'm probably thinking because she wanted to be, boom,
Right.
full center frontal.
So then she winds up leaving the show, and then Janae Dubois, the one that played Walona,
Yeah.
had to hold the fort down.
Yeah. I didn't care for it when it just got too crazy towards the end.
Right. And then of course,
The acting was always great, but the plot did not interest me as much.
no,
That
it didn't.
dad held the family down. He glued the whole thing together. It was great, meaning that it just was glued together. Everything worked, in my opinion.
Yeah. But then the last season, when Thelma meets Keith, a football player who injures himself,
Yeah.
he and her get married. Florida comes back. Now I will
True.
say,
Yeah, she comes back. What's up with that?
toward the end of the series. Now, I did think it was a nice addition adding Janet Jackson into the mix.
Yeah, she was great. Yeah. I
And
did
then,
like that.
and then of course, we know what happened to Janet Jackson when she
Right.
launched her own music career. She blew up, but
Yeah.
but we just had so many great shows. I mean, like I said, in the 70s.
I wonder how your viewers are wondering what shows they loved and everything.
Yeah, I would love to hear some feedback about what they liked watching, because again, I do remember a little bit of 70s TV in prime time, but not that much. I
Yeah.
remember Heart to Heart with Robert Wagner and Stephanie Powers. I remember Chips Patrol or Chips with Eric Estrada. I remember Dallas a little bit, not that much.
Right.
Now, when I came to the States, my big thing, not Dallas, I would watch it, but my big thing was Knots Landing
Right.
with Gary and Valine moving to California,
Sure.
and then of course you had Karen and all of that. And
What
it's
day? What day did that come on? What day of the week was that one?
Knots Landing, I believe, was on a Thursday night at 10 o'clock on CBS.
Trying to think what I was doing on Thursdays at 10 in that era. Okay.
And then Dallas was Friday night, if I remember correctly.
Right. 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 Do you remember, Steve, Saturday mornings, as far as like American Bandstand, Soul Train?
Yes, I do.
These are just standards. How about for you?
Yes, again, the 80s being my childhood, preteen, teenager, from basically from the age of 5 to 15. So that the way my morning started on the weekend, I would go to get my bowl of cereal, whatever it may be, Lucky Charms or Corn Pops or Apple Jacks, whatever, or Golden Grams, whatever I got. And of course, I would start watching my cartoons, the Smurfs, the Snorks, all these different cartoons, And then, I think Punky Brewster was in the mix. That was another show I used to like to watch. And then American Bandstand came on. And your Soul Train and all of that. So my Saturday morning up until about lunchtime or so, or whatever, that's what I watched.
That's what I did. And then after my Soul Train, which went on, wait, I'm trying to think. Soul Train, I think, came first, then Bandstand. I think Bandstand was the last one, right? I think.
I believe so. I think that was, yeah.
Right after that, I met my friends, and we always ended up going, shopping. That Saturday afternoon meant me and friends to go shopping. That's what we did back in the day. And then by 5 o'clock, I had to be home. Didn't like to be out too late on a Saturday at all, here in New York City. If I was going to go out again, I'd go out like with my, parents or something later on in the day. But anyway, but TV was so good that it didn't matter because we had a great lineup on Saturday nights. We had those shows that we mentioned. We had All in the Family. We had the Jeffersons. We had Mary Tyler Moore. And we had Bob Newhart. All four of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was the lineup on a Saturday night. Didn't have to move your channel.
No, you didn't.
But TV makes an impact on our lives.
But it's funny, though, in the 70s, CBS had the best lineup in the 70s. In the 80s, it was NBC.
Yes. Would you be adventurous to say that in the 90s, ABC?
I would say like the early middle 90s. I think ABC became. Well, the thing of it was in the 80s, you had with NBC, you had a man named Brandon Tartikoff. So,
True.
So 80s TV was, Saturday night on NBC. Let me think back. Facts of Life, 227. You had the Golden Girls. You had Amen.
Right.
You had another cop show. For those that don't know, there was a man named Fred Dreyer with Deanie McCall. There was a cop show I used to love, and I still catch it here, called Hunter. Used to come on Saturday night.
Oh, yeah. I remember that now. Yeah.
But later on in the 80s, right around 1988, there was a spinoff of the Golden Girls called Empty Nest.
Right.
It had Richard Mulligan, with Dinah Manoff and Christy McNichol as his daughter, and they had a dog, Dreyfus.
Yeah.
When that happened, that took over the 9:30 slot, and they put AIM in, I believe, it earlier down, like 8:30 or whatever it was. But yeah, Saturday night, both 70s and 80s, you didn't have to leave. You stayed home.
There you go.
You didn't have to leave.
Well, I know we went all over the map with this topic tonight, but
We did.
I just want to throw in something. This show that I have fallen in love with completely lately actually generated and began in the 1950s. And it went on very late Sunday night, 10:30. Many folks may remember it through their parents. What's My Line?
Oh,
I
wow.
love that show. I mean, I watch it now. There's a channel on YouTube called What's My Line? And they have like 200 episodes at least. And you know what it is? I love watching the way people were so polite to each other. They very well dressed. It was just so sweet and interesting. And the mystery guests that they had on were like huge celebrities, huge movie stars. It was really, really good. I highly recommend anybody who's nostalgic to check it out. What's My Line? Very interesting game show back in the day.
What's interesting about What's My Line, that actually started, if memory serves me correctly, that started in the early 50s.
Yes.
But it ran well into the middle 70s.
Yes. Did you know they also have a radio version? The host mentions it that to tune in on Wednesday nights for the radio version of it. Oh, what is that gentleman's name? John Daly?
That's him.
Well, this gentleman was also a newsman. He did news broadcasting, I think, for ABC back in the day. Very well-versed gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
Really good show. Love.
What's My Line? To Tell the Truth is another good one.
Love To Tell the Truth. But my favorite version was when Gary Moore took over.
Gary Moore, yeah. Again, you've got that's been brought back too many times. You have a version out now on ABC with the black gentleman, Anthony Anderson.
I it.
It's okay. I'm not a big fan of it. I know that they brought back To Tell the Truth like right around 1990, 91, where Alex Trebek, a man named Gordon Elliott, and a man named Lynn Swan, who's an ex-football player, they hosted that for a while. Of course, we know Orson Bean and Kitty Carlisle. Very.
Yes, you know how I feel about her. Yeah.
Right. She was a
perfect lady. I loved Kitty. I mean, I met her in person, so I could say it.
Because I did ask you at one time what you saw the way she presented herself on the series.
She was no different in real life, and I had the pleasure of meeting Kitty Carlisle like 4 times when I worked at the hospital where she used to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she actually, like, we used to meet at the elevator bank, like for like where like certain people would go, so not to be mixed up with other people, basically celebrities, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And she used to like meet me at the elevator bank. And one day I was on vacation. I came back. She said, "Janet, I really missed you."
Oh,
I was like, "Oh, thank you."
that was a compliment, coming from.
You have no clue how I felt. I used to admire her from years ago when she was in the Marx Brothers movie, A Night at the Opera.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And then I watched her on To Tell the Truth. I'm like, who is this fine, sophisticated lady? She actually filled in when, sad to say, when Dorothy Kilgallen, passed. The following Sunday, she filled in. Kitty Carlisle filled in her place. She said, "I may be filling up her chair, but I'll never replace Dorothy."
True.
Such a lady.
Yeah.
TV, we love it.
Right. I mean, but the thing about TV talk is you have so many different genres. You can talk about crime shows, you can talk about
True.
sitcoms, you can talk about game shows, and um, TV shows. Like, here's a couple of other good ones. Um, I'll just tap on this, but I can always come back to the game show. You had the Twilight Zone, you had the Outer Limits in the 60s. Well, actually, I believe the Twilight Zone started in the late 50s, but you had
I think
Twilight
so.
Zone, yeah, the Outer Limits, and then later on in the early 70s, they decided to come out with Night Gallery, which was, I thought, basically a revamped version
Yeah,
of Twilight Zone. But
pretty much.
uh,
Well,
you
if
know,
we don't want to talk about it all at once at this episode, because I know you're going to do future episodes more of TV Talk, Steve.
right, but again, we, and even your subscribers, my subscribers, we grew up with the best television. I'm sorry.
Yes, we did.
I don't care to watch much of anything in prime time. I might watch one show if I'm lucky, and think about what's on. One show out of 50
I
or
watch
what?
that show that begins with Shark every single night because I find myself not really seeing anything else that's palatable.
Oh, yeah.
Like secondary channels,
Right. And if I'm not giving away too much information, there is a gentleman on that show named Mark Cuban.
Yes,
That's on that, so I know exactly.
that's the one. Yeah.
So I know precisely.
I have a date with that show every night. Just saying.
It's
That's
something.
the entrepreneur in me. That's the business side of Jen.
Sure. Yeah.
I enjoy watching that exchange.
Yeah. But again, I might not want to say much more, and kind of bring this particular segment of TV talk, to a close, because I will be bringing it back. I'll bring it back another time.
Sure.
Because I don't want to kill it all out in one chat. That's not what I want to do. But I did, like I said, we did watch the best TV. Leave It to Beaver. Even though I watched it in syndication, you saw it first run. Make Room for Daddy. Here's one that people are amazed that I know about. Our Miss Brooks with Eve Arden.
I can't believe when you mentioned this the first time that you knew that.
Don't want to give too much away. Of course, Jack Benny. But
Right.
You know what? Jack Benny actually comes on Antenna TV for those that get that channel.
But you knew about it before all this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because I know you. It amazed me. Somebody as young as you to know it.
And this is a little bit. This one right here is a little bit more of a shock. People really look at me and say, "How do you know that?" Betty White had a sitcom in the 50s called Life with Elizabeth.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
Go on YouTube and type it in. It's pretty good. It's in the 50s. Like middle 50s ish, kind of.
Yeah.
Like Miss Brooks. But you had a lot of good shows, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. That's like the best television. And then afterwards, then TV started to get a little too profane. People didn't care about what they said.
I think that's a very important point, and I think that I look forward to when you expound upon it on your next show.
Mm-hmm.
Because believe me, that takes up almost the whole show. That really, how TV has changed so much.
Yeah. So Janet, I want to thank you for coming aboard on this segment.
Well,
It was
thanks
fun.
for having me.
You're more than welcome. And the next one, the next TV talk, I'll ask you to come aboard again, and
I'll be back.
yeah, I enjoy talking about it. Who knows? I may even do something about music. Music is really my forte.
You never know. If we could even get an additional guest here with me, if you would like, feel free.
That would be
Well,
fun.
like their perspective on TV too would be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the meantime, this has been Steve Young 74, and thank you for participating. I really enjoyed it, and there will be more TV talk in the upcoming future. And I'm just
Nice
glad.
to see you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah, nice to see everybody. And thank you, Janet, for coming aboard, as I mentioned.
You're welcome.
And I will see all of you next time. I really appreciate you tuning in. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.